What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the SquadCast, episode number 4. If you missed episode number 3, it's on Full Frontage's channel, where we went over how to fix consumables inside of Squad Busters. In this video, we're going to be talking about new game modes that could be potentially added inside of Squad Busters. New game modes have been a huge topic inside of Squad Busters after they have so many game modifiers that are inside of the game. We had a comment from one of our recent videos from Rub3581, and he said, "Hope the duo mode drops on or close to release so my wife and I can play and be on the same team." What do you think about that, Full?
I mean, I feel like a lot of games, like especially nowadays, have like duo modes and co-op modes that you can play with specific people. Like I know there's the party mode and everything, but I think people want to actually like work together as a team and have it be something a little bit more deeper than just like queuing up into a group and then filling with random people in the lobby. Don't get me wrong, I love the party idea. I think it's really cool, and especially if you can fill it with like 10 people, it'll make for some awesome gameplay and a lot of fun to be playing with 9 of your friends. So I think it's really cool, but I do think some other game modes are definitely needed in the game, and especially ones where you get to play like a co-op mode would be really cool as well.
All right. Well, yes, I do think a co-op mode would be really fun inside of Squad Busters, and I do think the duo mode is a potential good game mode, especially for people who want to just play with, their best friend or their friend. They want to get into a match. And what we mean by this duo game mode is 2 people on the same team going at it,
Yep.
Versus, everybody else. It'd be pretty much a 2v2v2v2v2. V2? Did I say that 5 times? So it's up to 10 people. So
Yep.
You guys get it. You do the math. And then also what we had coming in from QuipTales01 was a 3v3 potentially as well. So I guess this would work as maybe a 3v3 or maybe even a 3v3v3 inside of Squad Busters, where it would be kind of one of those things where you build up your squad, and it would almost feel like Brawl Stars, but with Squad Busters characters, and you'd still be able to form an army. So it would get kind of hectic because, when 3 armies are together in the middle, together on the same team, they wouldn't fight each other. So it could be for some massive fights in the mid game, which could be pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's like, do all 3 try to gang up, and then it's going to come down to positioning. It's going to come down to movement mechanics and everything like that, being able to juke, being able to build up your squad properly with tanks, with ranged DPS, with healers, everything like that. So I think it could make for a very interesting mode. It's really hard to tell with game modes like this without like play testing it, because you would think something would work well, but then until you actually get your hands on it, it's kind of like, okay, this means this change, this needs this change, and all those things. So I do think it would definitely be really interesting to get to that point and see what we can get with the 2v2s and 3v3s. 3v3 would definitely be very chaotic in the middle towards the end, but I think it would still be a lot of fun. And who doesn't love a good, fun game of absolute chaos,
Yeah, no, it would definitely be chaos, especially when you're looking at each, army would probably have 5 to 7 characters. So you're looking at potentially, 42 characters fighting it out in the middle, 21 versus 21 like squad units.
Yep.
And then also the good part about that would be is you have to talk with your teammates, right, to build an end game composition. Now, the good part about something like a 3v3 would be is as you're opening up chests and you're on communication with your teammates, or not even, you can see what units they have. So it's all random, right? The chests that you see, unless if you don't reroll. So as you're building up your squad, your teammates can see what you're building, and they can complement you with their picks as well.
Yep.
So you can build a squad that can be strong in the mid to end game. And I think that would be a lot of strategy involved, because it'd be a lot of communication, right? And that's the main thing is cooperative play together is, all right, well, I just got it now, Primo. I only find tanks in my chest. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I'm not, using rerolls or anything like that. All I got is tanks. I have El Primos, I have Barbarian Kings, and I have all of that. And then, somebody else in your squad could be getting the Colts, could be getting, the Archer Queens and extra damage to really bolster your army.
Yeah, and composition in this game has proven to be so important, right? Especially as we've been playing it for the past week or so. Um, I'm trying to learn like different compositions and what works and what doesn't. Some people swear by never picking a supplier, um, depending on the game mode. More so, just not like don't pick Greg, don't pick Mavis, don't pick goblins. But then in other situations, it's like, well, why would you not pick those, right? Because you get those extra resources that'll help you get more chests at the end. Like if you can get a Greg and a Mavis or a Goblin right off the bat, and you're able to get that many more coins just by farming, then I feel like that just benefits you because they still have decent DPS. And also a decent amount of HP. Like Greg has 1300 HP and 100 damage. Mavis has I think 1100 or 1000 HP and 125 damage. And she also is a ranged attacker because she throws carrots at people. The carrots do 125 damage in this world, apparently.
It's a lot of damage, big carrots.
Right. But I mean, she's plucking them out of the ground. She's got some biceps on her. But no, like building squads and like, I mean, it's squad busters. So like the compositions that you're able to build and is super important. I think that would just really come to light in like a team-based game mode or like a co-op based game mode, whether it's 2v2 or 3v3 or heck even 5v5. I think that would be something that's really entertaining and could be a cool addition to the game as like a party mode, like within party mode. Like if you can set up a custom lobby, and then if it works out, then maybe they bring it to like a main mode, and we'll see a bunch of different things like that.
Yeah, so speaking about, 3v3, 2v2, 5v5, and these are pretty much from all of the viewers that sent in, game modes as far as that's concerned. I have a question for you, Full.
Yeah.
Do you have a game mode in mind that Supercell could add for Squad Busters?
So I've been ideating on this one for a little bit now. And only OGs will remember this, but Boom Beach Frontlines. I don't know if you ever played it.
I did.
But it was a game from Space Ape, who's one of the companies that Supercell has investments in, and they set out their IP. For those of you who don't know, they set out their IP to Space Ape and let them develop Boom Beach Frontlines. It's been discontinued since then, but essentially what it was is there were two zones. It was two teams, and there was two zones, and basically in those in that game mode, you would coordinate with your team. You'd have to build healers. You'd have to build tanks. You'd have to build DPS. So very similar things, but you only control one unit in Boom Beach Frontline. So in Squad Busters, if it does, so I have two ideas: 5v5, which is this mode, and there's two zones, and you can essentially go between both zones however you wish, and however long you sit on the zone, you capture it. So you capture the zone and you hold the zone and you take control of the zone for as long as possible. And whoever gets the most amount of points, you get a certain amount of points every time for however long you stay on the zone, then you get the victory. So your team will get the victory. Now they could also implement that in a 1v1 scenario where it's just solo players, but instead of being 10 players, maybe it's 5 players. So at the start, you have a minute to build your squad with a maximum of 5 characters. So you have to fuse very carefully. And then after a minute, one zone will appear on the map. So that zone appears, you must control the zone, you earn points. After 45 seconds that zone is up, the zone disappears and moves to another location and is locked for 30 seconds. Everybody races over, tries to get their zone, and then boom, you fight again. 1 second in the zone equals 1 point, and multiple players in the zone do count, and you just need to survive longer, and first to 100 point wins. If your squad goes down, so with that first minute that you build your squad, once that minute of like squad prep is done, if you lose all 5 of your members, you just respawn with those same exact members, and then you go back in and you fight. So that way it really comes down to like that first minute, did you build the best squad you possibly could to help you win this game? So those are my two ideas.
All right, so I do like that idea. Boom Beach Frontlines was fun for the time that I did play it. I, however, didn't play it that much to get, fully entrenched into the game. But that does seem like a fun game mode to be added to Squad Busters. There's a million things that can be added into Squad Busters that can make this game really pop off. All right, so great game mode there from Full Frontage. I do really like the fact that the hot zones were, it were a thing in Boom Beach Frontlines, especially getting points for, for controlling areas. I think that's very, a very good concept that can easily be implemented into Squad Busters, especially when you have multiple squads even, getting, its control. So now you're fighting. It encourages fighting, which is one of the main things that Squad Busters doesn't have right now is, if you're fighting, you're losing. So if you're controlling an area for X amount of time, you will be able to get points based on that. So even if your army does get wiped out a little bit, you can go farm up and then get back into it, but you're still going to have the points for standing on to that hot zone. So those are never going to go away. So that could be, really good game mode inside of Squad Busters. However, I do have a different take on a game mode that I was thinking about. And this is almost a game mode from games that are turn-based strategy kind of games where I want to have it to where you pretty much are in a world by yourself for 2 minutes, right? You're farming up, you're getting all of the things, that you can get. You're getting your farm, you're getting your army, you're building your army up. And then you go into a arena almost with everybody all at once, and you just duke it out. So you just have to just fight until the last person standing, and it will come in. So just like almost like a death match for Brawl Stars, but where it will end at a certain amount of time no matter what. And you have your army, so you built it kind of the way that you wanted, right? You're building it exactly how you want. So it's not really random. It's exactly every single unit that you have unlocked you can choose from in a staging area where, so it's not really farming up, I guess you could say. It's more of just like picking what units you want. So let's just say you have 2 fusions, and then you have like 6 commons, and then you have 1 mega unit, right? So you can choose like that, or maybe you have a certain amount of gold to make your army, and then you have a mega unit as well. So that way you build it based on that. Let's just say you have 2 minutes or 60 seconds to build it. Then you go into the match. The match is 3 minutes long. It can only really be 3 minutes or 3:10 or whatever. And you just duke it out with all 10. It's just straight fighting. And you can even have it based off of how many eliminations you give you gems. So instead of gems being on the ground to get, you bust characters to get their gems. And so you don't even need to really, in essence, win the match, be the last one standing to win. You just need to be the one who busts the most amount of enemies in that match.
Okay. I like it. And I assume like the more you fight, the more rewards you get so that way, like if you happen to fight against like 3 people and then it's you and somebody else and they have like a lot of their squad left, that you'll just get completely destroyed no matter what.
Yeah, no, it's like that. It's just supposed to be chaotic fun. I don't think there's going to be competitive. Okay. I mean, it could be competitive to where you'd have it where. So I took this almost inspiration from Warcraft 3 from back in the day for the custom game modes, to where you can even have it where it could just be a 1v1, you fight, then your army will respawn for the next round. So you build it, you fight versus one person, winner stays on, and then loser you go back to the lobby next. Winner stays on, then you watch 2 other teams fight. Winner stays on, loser goes out, and then you have it go down. So it'd be 8 people. So 8, 4, 2, winner, and then you'd have like that kind of like a little mini tournament. It'd probably take like 20 minutes or 15 or so minutes, but it'd be like a mini tournament. Who could build the best squad and fight? And like so, it's just straight 1-on-1. Nobody else is interfering. There's probably some random things around there as far as
like monsters,
or something maybe. And it's just like a chaotic, that wouldn't even be so much chaotic. That would be more skill. So he was the best, like, 1v1 player in Squad Busters who can build their squad.
Yeah, build their squad, maneuver properly, being able to capitalize on the auto targeting system with with mechanics to maneuver around your opponent's squad. You know, get behind them, maybe target their Colt first, or their Archer Queen, or their Shelly, whatever the range units are. Get into positions so that way you're able to work around, because there are different maneuvers to counter. I've actually been picking up on things where it's like, if I see somebody maneuvering one way, then I will actually spin around the opposite way. So that way, when they stop spinning, they're actually targeting my tanks and not my range units like they're trying to do when I'm just standing there fighting. I'm always having my thumb on the sprint buttons. That way I can maneuver quickly and get around them in the joystick. So I am noticing a lot more maneuvering mechanics within the game. And I definitely think a game mode like that, where it's like a 1v1 situation, could definitely heavily rely on, like you said, the knowledge to build the proper squad, but then also the micro skills within squad busters of being able to maneuver around and make sure your opponents are targeting what you want them to target, but you're targeting what you want to target based on your opponent, and just see who can outmaneuver the best.
Yeah, and as you're building your squad, you can't change it once you build it once. So
Yep.
you have to fight everybody with that same squad. So it's not like, you can change it, based on who you're playing versus. It's just that's your squad. That's what you chose. You got to live with it now, and you got to see, what you can do. And I think that this would also open up, a little bit more strategy than a little bit random, right? Because Squad Busters
Yep.
is very random, especially in the games. If you're not just burning rerolls like crazy, getting exactly what you want, this at least gives you, and it also would give new players a sense at what squad members work together. So it'd be really good to teach players, okay, I didn't have enough tanks. I got completely wiped super quick, but I'm going to stay and watch and spectate and see who wins and like what they did, how they kind of configured their squad, how many melee units do they have, how many range units do they have. I just had, 4 Colts and an El Primo. I thought I was good. And I think that it could be more of like a learning tool, especially for new players. Because I think right now how Squad Busters is, especially for new players, it's fun, it's chaotic, it's kind of cool. But I think it gets lost with a lot of casual players. What do I really need to do to accomplish a successful end game, right? Because you could just farm the entire match and finish top 5, in most of your matches and feel like, you're doing great. And then, the fights happen in the end game and you get wiped and you're like, what happened? Like, now all of a sudden I'm in squad league and people are fighting now. Like, I can't just farm the entire game. Like, other people are going to be getting Gregs, stealing my trees. Like, and that's the thing that people are also not understanding yet about Squad Busters is they're saying the people are, the Greg advocates of the world and the Mavis advocates of the world. And it's going to get to the point where there are going to be other players that get suppliers too that are taking your supplies, and there aren't that many trees, and carapatches inside of the board at one time. And that's why I think that those suppliers are going to start getting phased out inside of Squad Busters, because the game mode is super fun. And we only have, I guess, one game mode with a lot of modifiers, so it does, change. However, I think this can turn into more of like a Brawl Stars as well. On top of that, we have a completely new game mode with modifiers on top of it, which would be, quite frankly, insane.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how like the suppliers would work in these types of game modes, right? Because we're like in these specific scenarios, we're talking about like the more skill based game modes and everything like that. So it would definitely come down to like, I wouldn't pick Goblin if I'm going into like an arena situation like that, or Greg or Mavis, but at the same time, like I guess the question is like, how do you combat that? Like maybe there gets a, like in that farming state, like I was kind of liking what you were saying with like, maybe you get a certain amount of gold.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the idea is that you potentially, like in that 60-second window or whatever, and the idea is potentially maybe you sacrifice having an extra Shelly and you go Mavis instead, so that way you get a little bit more gold, and maybe you can build an extra fusion unit that your opponent might not have, because you opted to take out a damage dealer or a tank and put in a supplier to help you kind of level up the other members of your squad. And maybe that's where it could come down to like a little strategic decision making as well. I don't know if that's going to make it unbalanced, but it is also taking into consideration that, you know, the suppliers will probably get left high and dry if that were the case. But I mean, I'm sure the team will come up with something. I think I love the idea of like an arena, like 8 players down to 4, down to 2, down to a champion and everything like that. So I definitely think there's opportunity there, and I'm sure the dev team will hear these and be able to. Sometimes all it takes for the creative to get a creative mind going is just one little piece of feedback that's like, ooh, this is actually really good, and then they change it into a masterpiece. So that's what we're kind of hoping comes out of this as well, is like that we're able to give the team that like one speck of an idea that's like, yes, we can make something happen with that.
Yeah, and that's kind of, you know, the whole point of, you know, this episode of the SquadCast is just trying to get ideas out there, especially even from the community. You know, leave in the comments below all of the game modes that you think that you would want to see inside of the game. That way, you know, we can take the feedback back if, you know, we do like the game mode, because at the end of the day, the more voices that are constructive in trying to help build the game, the only better the game will be, right? So if you're talking to about, let's just say 100 million people, and you ask them, you know, just come up with a game mode idea, right? And let's just say if, you know, a couple hundred people have ideas, you know, out of those ideas, there's going to be a couple of them that, you know, can be extrapolated from. I'm sorry I used that word. My dad is just, it means you take from one and you use it in another instance. I just got like flashbacks, because that's like, so I used to, he had it hung on the wall, that word, for some reason, and it was like highlighted, was like what it was, and it was his favorite word for like a couple of years, and it was just like, why?
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So yeah, so they can take an idea from one of you guys and throw it into, you know, a bigger idea that they have, and really, you know, jumpstart, you know, the creative process. So I do want to, you know, stress that, you know, it is important that you guys do give your feedback, you know, in a very constructive way. Don't say, oh, you know, like this, that, and you just be constructive, be concise, be like, oh, I think it would be good if, you know, this was added into the game and stuff like that. And also, if you guys want to, or should I say, want us to talk about any other topics for our future SquadCast episodes, please leave it in the comments below. Just like we did on this video, you know, we're going to be featuring comments, and we're going to be talking about your comments as well inside of these videos. All right, well, thank you guys for watching episode 4 of the SquadCast. If you guys are interested in more episodes, we will be having episode 5 over on Full Frontage's channel. His link will be in the description of this video. But until next time, guys, we will see you later.